And now, Kyle and Steven present another episode of the Go F Yourself podcast. It's Fix. Really? Well, that's embarrassing. The Go Fix Yourself podcast.
Welcome to the Go Fix Yourself podcast, the podcast where we are fixing how we view different walks of life, one conversation at a time. And as always, to my left is the wonderful, the talented, the sexy man, Kyle Redding.
I'm just happy to be here today. I'm glad that I'm still allowed to come on the podcast, to be honest.
You're fucking lucky, dude.
I know. I'm waiting for you to cut me out of the company. But what's more important is our two guests sitting across from us.
Yes.
Now we have Carson and we have Tanya from That Feeling Co.
Woo!
And
thank you guys.
Yes, I've always assumed like Steven brings on a lot of people and I don't know who they are. And when he said they own The Feeling Co., and I was like, oh, I've been in there a million times about a million plants. My wife, those are the only plants she can't kill. Because we go in there and we're like, what can't she physically kill?
It's a special formula, so
none of the plants.
None of the plants we
have
sell
to
die.
ask.
You put love in them. I knew it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, they don't die.
Feelings are there.
Well, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank
We're
you.
super happy to have you guys on,
Yeah.
and we are going to go through a bunch of stuff today, starting with how did you guys meet?
Oh.
I
Go away.
right out.
Listen, I told you before the podcast, I said we're journalists, all right? We go deep. We go hard, all right? We're going to ask the real intense
It's
questions.
definitely the one thing we don't want to talk about.
That was the one thing off limits, Kyle.
No, we didn't officially meet, but we did go to high school together, but we did not know each other in high school.
And was that here?
In Anchorage, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we
yeah.
went to service.
So you guys are Alaska born and raised?
I was born in
Mostly,
Anchorage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a foreigner.
A foreigner like me. Where are you from?
Ukraine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're not like
So
me.
not
a little bit different. A little bit different.
Legit
just a
foreigner.
little ways away. Yeah.
And then we also went to UAA together,
Mhm.
and we had a few classes at UAA together. Tanya tried to talk to me one
I
time.
tried to knock on him one night.
Oh,
that didn't work.
In
Party?
the biology class.
No, in
in
class.
class.
Yeah, I kind of
Oh, wow.
just, we were dissecting something, and I was like, hey, Carson, can I get some help? And he just completely ignored me. He wasn't even, he didn't even look up. Maybe he didn't hear me, bad of hearing, who knows? But I kind of just moonwalked back to my seat. And,
All right. We'll see you later.
like-
That's cool.
Hey, maybe next time.
What were you
Maybe
guys?
next year. I think it was probably a year after that. We had
Yeah.
some friends, mutual
Yeah.
friends, set us up, and then
Blind
we
date?
Carson-
Blind date style?
Yeah.
just went.
It was kind of like a friend gathering, and then
Yeah.
we just hung out.
Yeah, we hung out in like a mutual setting, and then it was like, oh, okay, this is.
Oh, she's
This is dope.
actually.
This
I
is-
shouldn't have turned her down a year ago.
Yeah.
He did
this
not
is
know I
something.
existed. That's probably what happened. So,
What were you guys dissecting?
Maybe
I don't know.
frogs.
I don't
Frogs?
know.
I think so.
I remember doing. I did a cat. I think in college.
Oh,
yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, I was really into that stuff, like anatomy.
You would be.
110.
You would
know,
be.
I've done cats, pigs, and frogs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
And
This
it's
goes
like
on.
it's. I don't know what it is about dissecting something, but it was like really interesting at first, and then I was like, "This is really gross." Like I'm done.
You're like one step away from Dexter, dude.
Yeah.
A couple steps, okay, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
always
You'll get
interesting.
there.
Like
It's a passion of yours.
You know.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
If
they
you
say
believe it,
you
you'll
never
get there.
work a day in your life when you love what you do. You know?
Okay.
But I guess that was 12 years ago, was it? Or so?
Yeah.
Probably about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Way to go.
Yeah.
What's the secret, guys?
I'd say
Hip hop music.
Hip hop
okay,
music.
yeah.
we
Oh.
did
Good
bond.
coffee and plants.
Yeah, we did bond originally on music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On just like 90s hip hop, and we were both like, "Oh, we listen to the same stuff."
Mhm.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. See, my wife and me were a little different because she listens to 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
She can like any Biggie song,
Mhm.
every lyric.
Oh yeah.
Seriously. Anytime it comes on, like she's like rapping. And I'm over here being like, just
Yeah.
like straight metal. I was like, when worlds collide,
You're
baby.
screaming over
Yeah.
her music.
And that works too.
Yes. Yes.
Make a remix or something.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Limp Bizkit? Anyway, so one thing we do say, we ask a question is, my parents listen to this podcast, right? My parents live in New York. That's where I'm from. And they don't know who I know. They don't know who we know. They're like, kind of like, oh, that, the person, who was that again? So we like to say, tell my parents who you are and what you do right now. And then we'll kind of get into how you got there. Right. And so, what is that feeling, Co?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm Carson Baldives, and
Carol and Rick are their names. If you
Carol
want
and
if you
Rick.
want to say
Hi, Carol.
hello,
Hi, Rick.
they'll love you to death. I will get a text or a phone call that said they were just the loveliest.
real nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And Tanya and I own a plant shop called That Feeling Co., and we specialize in houseplants as well as coffee. So we are a full coffee shop and a tropical houseplant store.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
It is. You guys really, really worked hard on Johnny's Produce, which is next door, which is...
Yeah, that's my dad.
Your dad.
Is Johnny.
Johnny.
He's Johnny.
Yeah.
Okay. And the elusive Johnny.
Yeah.
So Johnny's Produce is this another amazing shop. But you guys bought this like old automotive garage?
Yeah, so
Was
it
that
used
what
to be a Midas and then some other car shop.
Okay.
And
Jiffy Lube.
Jiffy Lube, yeah. And so
Oh,
we were
nice.
looking for a location to house both businesses as we were kind of creating our new company and our new idea. And we couldn't find anything in Anchorage, as you would imagine. Lots of strip malls,
Yeah.
lots of uninspiring places.
Yeah. A lot of beige, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we saw that garage and we were like, I think this is it. I think we
Yeah.
could do this
I
garage.
couldn't see the vision. It was disgusting.
lot
of
in there.
natural
It was
light.
It was gross.
greasy, and there's machinery everywhere, and
Yeah.
the pits where you get like your oil changed.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Go in the basement. I was like, how do you even fill that in? Like, this is
How did you-
mind blowing.
What? Wait, so there's not a basement under there?
There is a basement.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was like wide open, like you could fall
Oh,
in
yeah.
when we
Yeah.
walked.
You guys
didn't keep
originally. No. We were like, should we have something growing from the inside? No,
okay,
that
being
got
creative.
shut down
Yeah.
really quick.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys decided with your parents kind of like open up a store together, and why open up a store?
Well, so
first off,
I mean, I guess we should probably like rewind a little bit, but
Oh.
I mean, just
let's
like
do it.
we were all in like a transitional kind of phase in our life, and so Tanya was working at Moose's Tooth and Beartooth doing graphic design,
Right, I remember
and
with the great
I
Jordan
was
Bird.
yes, and I was managing my parents' bakery called the House of Bread, and we had that for 9 years, and we were at the same time doing too many things. We were doing wedding photography, and we were doing florals and flower work, and we were doing
Yeah.
all this stuff, and we had to simplify. So we kind of, as a family, we were talking, and my parents were like, we're kind of over the bakery, so let's sell it and then move on to something else in our life, another chapter. And that's kind of at the same time when Tanya and I were thinking about what to do as well. So us being in the same building with my parents was just like happened to be, we were all kind of coming up with new businesses at the
Good
same time.
timing.
And we're like, what if we did it kind of like in the same building? And they have a separate business and they do wholesale and retail produce. And then our business just kind of fit. And we're like, let's just cohabitate and co-market and stuff like that.
It's such a cool idea because also like, and you guys have a second store you kind of opened up, not kind of, you did, but in like a cooler like area, which you're bringing something that maybe people have seen in Low 48 up to Alaska, right? And so it's like something we've never seen before up here. And I think that's something, it's funny because we have a common themes of people in this podcast. And it's like, one of them is, you know, doing something differently up here that sticks out, right? That people are maybe doing in Low 48 and there's more competition or there's a ton of other people doing it, you know, but you guys brought it up and you put your own spin on it, which is really cool because it's like a produce shop and a coffee shop. You're like, okay, but then it works. It really does. It's super rad. Okay, so then you decide to open up this store, these two stores. You find the spot. Like, why plants? Why coffee? Why, like, you know, that? Why produce, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So why are those things?
Good question.
You know, that's
Still thinking about it, right?
We only ask good questions here, bud.
So before we opened, we were working on building our house, which was a really cool project. And at the same time, I had like a really insane psychedelic experience.
Mushrooms?
LSD was like a lot.
That's another common theme we've been talking about.
And
Steven just lights up.
Oh, yeah.
well,
Drugs?
Yeah.
Bling! For me, I mean, my story is a little different than
I had a
Tanya's
different
experience with plants. But the next day I had an overwhelming like feeling that I needed plant life in my room, in my space, in my area. Like I needed live plants. I needed that energy around.
Hell yeah.
And I went out to like Lowe's the next day and bought like $300 worth of plants, and we just filled our room up, and it was just like a jungle.
Yes, I love that.
And
we took plants from like people who like were saying like, oh, we have, do you want it? Like, and we'll just take anything. Like we would just hoard plants.
Did you guys, you know, because I took over a house set for like 8 months one time, and they had plants. They're like, do not let these things die. And I did not know plants. Did you guys know plants?
No, we didn't know plants.
So you were
at all.
jumping in.
They
So
were
like,
somehow,
you were like, let's dive in deep.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And so we just got hooked, basically.
Yeah.
We were just like, we learned about propagating. We're like, oh my God, you can make more plants from these plants for free. And like, we just got like hooked on just the whole thing. And that kind of just quickly started to take over our space.
Yeah.
And we realized over the few years after that we kind of couldn't really find what we were looking for as far as plants go. And it was kind of perfect timing because we were looking for a new job, a new thing to do. And we were kind of over wedding work and photography and like that whole lane. So
which we'll get into too.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
And so we noticed that there was like a need, as well as a need for ourselves personally, for like modern plants and rare plants and collector stuff, as well as simplistic pots and nice clean items and things that wouldn't look like maybe that was in your grandma's house, which we saw a lot of at like Lowe's and stuff when we were like, I don't want to put this in our house.
Yeah.
And we're like, we know it exists, but it's just not here. So we just kind of went off and started doing some research.
Was this kind of during COVID time? Because
so it's like all of our research was like 2018, 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a perfect time, because I remember kind of right during COVID, everybody was like turning their work from home into like, I need more of a homey feel, and like the plants came up a ton in articles of like how to rejuvenate your house during this time where you're going to be spending a ton of time there. And I was like thinking, oh, that must have been when you guys got into it. But if you got in right before, couldn't have timed it like any better.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Good and bad timing. Yeah.
Well, sure. In a lot of ways.
So we opened January 2020.
Oh.
So it was like
3 months
just right before. Yeah. So it was like, it was good and bad. Obviously, great timing for plant people. For stuff, people looking for that, because it was
interior design.
And anything in that interior scape was wild.
I'm sure.
All of 2020. And it was, we got just thrown straight into the fire. Like it was just chaos.
I would imagine.
Well, I could see the mix with Johnny's and plants and everything, because I feel like when my wife goes to the grocery store, like sometimes she'll pick up some produce, whatever, and like sometimes she'll buy some flowers just for kicks, like to put on the kitchen table. Yeah. Like it's a very like connected thing when you're shopping for like a home cooked meal or something where you need some vegetables. You're like, oh, some flowers in the middle of the table would go well together. So it's like, it makes sense, like those two together, because a lot of people are like, oh, flowers and produce and coffee. Coffee goes anywhere, I think. Yeah. So you're pretty safe with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think to add to the story, we moved into our new house, and we were, we had a full like little room of plants that was like completely packed. But once we moved into our house, the plants kind of got dispersed, and we were like, we need more plants.
Yeah.
And we need to decorate, and we need we have a style that we kind of want to continue into this home. And essentially, we were kind of just sitting at home around our plants, and we were like, what's our perfect like work day look like? And it was having coffee, being at home, being with our plants, listening to good music. And we were like, let's just kind of make that happen. And That Feeling Co. was actually the name of our photography business.
Oh, okay.
Which originally I believe was a Tribe Called Quest song, not a song, but
lyric.
like a lyric
Oh.
from that.
So it
And
stems to that 90s hip hop.
Mhm.
Oh, I love that.
Well, and at the time, that feeling was very like being about love and connection and like
Yeah.
capturing, your wedding day and all that stuff. So it felt to me like a really good translation into our business because we were kind of like, what do we call our new business? Like something botanical, something this, something that. And I was like, I feel like that Feeling Co.
Yeah.
kind of found its home. Like it feels really good there.
And it's funny too sometimes because the name is a little bit obscure. Like you don't
It's-
really know what's
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
kind of odd.
And it is kind of odd. And it took me a while to like learn, like love it. But it's funny when customers come in and they're like, oh my God, it feels so good in here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there you go.
That's that
What-
feeling, baby.
what's the
Or
name?
they're like,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
it.
the co part, like, yeah, it's like it works out perfectly because nobody calls that Feeling Company or anything like that. Just that
Do
Feeling
they?
Co.
Are there people that say?
I'm sure they have to.
Oh,
We get
let's meet at that Feeling Company.
Yeah.
We go through our like SEO and see what people like type into
Oh,
Google, and it's really fun
nice.
things like Feelings Co. or like
Yeah.
fun things. But it takes
This
them
feeling-
to the right
yeah.
place, which
Yeah.
is good.
You guys got that SEO targeted, I'm sure.
Nice.
Have you guys always been kind of entrepreneurship driven? Like it sounds like it runs in your family, and as somebody that's not from the US originally, a lot of times that kind of correlates into finding your own way in business or something like that. Or I don't know if that's always true, but how did that work out for you guys? You guys started businesses before, obviously. Did it start together or did you both do it independently?
I think we both had independent businesses prior.
Mhm.
And then once we got together, we started to just keep always thinking of new ideas, always brainstorming, always thinking about a new thing and next thing, and always kind of coming up with new ideas or pitches and stuff like that.
It's a
But
blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
my parents are like serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They have started many businesses in town and shifted between different industries. And so I kind of got this a little bit from them where it's like you can do anything you want and you can figure it out and failure is not an option. That's what my dad likes
Yeah.
to say. And it's just, you will figure it out.
Sure.
And if someone else did it, then you can do it too, And so he kind of just always instilled in us that like you can, and we always worked in the family business. So it was always just, we
Kinda
were always,
secondhand.
we were always just there working for the family, whatever's got to get done, we're going to go
Yeah.
help, so.
And you just
And-
kind of like learn how businesses run.
Definitely.
That's probably a good way to figure out. Like if your family's in the business, I would imagine you started to learn, logistics and whatever,
Accounting.
Yeah.
scheduling and all that.
Yeah, my
shit.
dad's like a manager pro, and my mom's like numbers and accounting, and she's really good at all that stuff. So
Nice.
kind of picking from both of them, I was able to like
Gotta
pull.
have that. Yeah.
And then I did go to UAA for a little while, but I would say that my folks were definitely
Hell yeah.
way
I love that.
above the UAA standards.
Yeah,
so.
you got a different degree.
It was totally
Real life
different.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
totally different. And then Tanya was, she was always talking about doing something or selling something. And she actually was the one who came to me and was like, I think we should be wedding photographers. And I was like, no. We're not doing that. Absolutely not.
Great segue.
Well, we needed
Great
to make
segue.
money to build this house because it's not like our families are rich and we just needed to start somewhere.
Okay, so
And so everything.
But you weren't even a photographer. So you were
You know.
just
I was
like-
gonna say
I have an iPhone
thi-
4.
This sounds
We're
like
ready.
you guys. Did you have cameras?
I was a photographer.
He had
You
a
was a
camera.
pho- okay.
Yeah, I had been shooting since I was a kid, like sports skiing, skateboarding,
okay.
like video, and like all this like fun stuff when I was a little
and
kid.
I was
so
always on auto settings.
so I was
for a while.
shooting-
as like a youth.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
No,
Nah, that's
no
okay.
way.
But
I could
I knew-
never.
I knew how intimidating weddings are, and
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
like, "There's a lot that you don't know. And there's a lot that we both don't know, and that's
Yeah.
like the very stressful. It can be a very stressful thing with." As like technical side, I would get very like anxious about the backups and losing stuff and,
Oh,
and like all that kind of stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll go overboard on that part. And if you want to do it, we got to do it right. And we got to study and we got to,
Yeah.
jump into it. And
Guess it was a business pitch for you.
Yeah.
So how did that look? I mean, because
Well-
like going from like not making money with photography to making money with photography can be a long journey too.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, like, what was it like? Fending those waters.
Well, I have to basically shout out Jasmine Starr, who was a wedding photographer at one point. She lives in California, Newport Beach.
Oh, nice.
So at one point, she was doing classes on Creative Live, and there was this whole like wedding photography like master course, and it was like from client communication to exceeding expectations to just like literally every part of wedding photography business. And then I think I paid like a couple $100 to take the class, and then that was the only way I could ever even feel confident in starting something like that. And I was like, hey, listen, I'll be the lead. I'll be the face of like talking and like communication and all these things. And you just kind of have to be behind the scenes in the bushes, which I still like pitched it like that to
That's
our
what I
new
say
clients.
to Kyle.
It's like,
It's like, I'll be the lead, but
Yeah.
you got to
You
stay
could
in
be
the
in the
bushes.
bushes.
You just stay in the back.
But it actually happened many times. Like we'll be like, say, like somewhere scenic, and like Carson's just gone with a zoom lens, and they're like, "Look, I told you he'll be in the bushes." Like it would just be perfect. He's just like, "Don't talk to me, don't look at me." He would be like far away.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and second
Capturing the
shooting's
scene
fun.
as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would imagine. I've never been a second shooter, but I would imagine second shooting would be a little bit less stressful.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't stressed at all. Yeah.
You're in the bushes. You're like fading into the background. It is very stressful. I've done only a few wedding videos, and I'm like, never again. Like
Yeah.
because of that moment of like losing, I've lost stuff
Yeah.
for major weddings that paid me a ton of money, and like I've also been like, my only shooter. So I'm over here, I'm over there, and so
Yeah.
how did you guys, when you're starting this business and you're going into it brand new, right? How did you guys navigate that stress too? Because I think that's also a pretty important thing for entrepreneurs. Like if you can't deal with it, then you got to figure out how to deal with it, right?
Well, I think anytime you start a business, you just kind of just offer your services at a discounted rate. I personally did like a lot of shoots with my friends and kind of like just portraiture just to get myself up to some standard where I could even ask for any money. And just kind of learn the camera and things like that. So I did a lot of like family shoots, like maternity shoots, like anything and everything. I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And that actually had a lot of fun because everyone who I photographed, I really enjoyed, or if it was a friend or something like that. But I think our first wedding was like $500, and we were like, oh, holy shit, this is so much work, even for being newbies. Like,
which is
that's
insane.
10-hour day.
And you guys can have the
12-hour
whole
day.
SD card. You can
I
have
mean, it was
everything.
a beautiful couple. We got great like portfolio material, and then it kind of just went from there. It was kind of like word of mouth. Then you meet people at weddings, and Carson's straight face is irresistible, and my loud laugh, and they're like, those two, we want them at our
Sold.
wedding.
Yeah, love that.
Their energy is great. We get the feels, all of that.
We want that guy in the bushes.
Yeah, we want the guy in the
bring him-
bushes.
We want
Bring 'em
that
over here.
feeling.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
How did you guys come up with the name? Is it like, you're like, we want to give people that feeling? Oh, shit, that's it right there. Was that it? Was that the moment?
I mean, it was on our name list. I can't remember when that specifically came up.
Yeah.
I guess it could have been a moment, but I don't remember.
Because like Kyle and I, when we started our first business, it was like we went through hundreds of names, right? Oh, it's taken. Oh, it's taken. Oh, it's taken. I mean, you guys have probably experienced it. And then like we were literally walking through Tidal Wave Books, and we were in the gun aisle.
Obviously.
Of all places. Yeah, when you look at us, you think guns. And so like he saw the word cut, and then I think he said I think right after that.
I think we had the word cut because we're like, oh, it's like barber
cut from a
shops.
different cloth and cut. Yeah, okay. So we're like, all right, what cut, and we want to be hipster, so cut and something.
Ampersand.
And then we were in the gun aisle, and he's like, caliber, cut and caliber. And we're like, oh, that's it. And then we looked it up. Oh, it's free. Yeah, and we bought them all. And then, but it took 2 months, 3 months.
Naming your stuff is very, like, people don't understand how much time. Sometimes you get lucky and it like comes to you, and then there's people that are like, I have no idea what to call this for a long time, and you're using the rap name generators, you're doing everything to try to figure out something.
We definitely did that. But now you got AI and can figure it out in seconds. But that feeling code, I love that it does. I mean, you did say it kind of like doesn't exactly say what you guys do now, but like it does to a point.
It
Like you're like,
encompasses-
you want to give people that feeling, right? That lovely feeling.
I was
I
like
think there's
sexual
a-
undertones.
Oh, okay. I did not see that, but
I'm gonna
I
ask
love
the
that.
people in the store next time.
Sexy.
Do you guys feel
It's
that
sexy.
too? See if they.
Hey, how you feeling, bud?
Mac, do you feel it? That's what I'm gonna ask the barista next
We'll
time.
ask Mac next time if he's feeling it.
Feeling sexy in here.
Yeah, plants and coffee, man.
Yeah.
That's an aphrodisiac if I ever heard of one. Okay, so you're starting your photography business. It's kind of rolling down. The snowball's picking up steam, and then you said you touched on it a little bit. You said you wanted to build a house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is something I know. I don't know. Did you?
I didn't even know they have a house.
We had no house.
Yeah.
Now we have a house.
Now we have a house.
It's kind of a big deal, right? But I want you to tell people, because I think it's fucking awesome that you guys did this. So you said you wanted to build a house. It's not going to build itself. I need to make money. So you started a photography business. What do you mean? Like, you had this dream house or what? Like,
I had a dream house.
It's all Carson. I thought he was insane. I was like, build your own house?
yeah.
DIY.
Does that?
Well, going back to my shout out to my folks. They built 3 houses since I was growing up with them, and they just did it. And I realized in like junior high or high school that I was like, I don't really like all the other houses around here. I was like, maybe I'll build my own house. And so I kind of started talking to my folks in high school and was like, can I build a house too? And they're like, start saving, start working. So that's what I started doing in high school, was saving to build a cabin up in Bear Valley, where the cheapest land in town is. And luckily that did not work out. And there's a lot of wetlands and I learned a lot for like probably 6 years trying to find good land in town.
6 or 7.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Almost 7 years to find land.
Which just gave us an opportunity to save more.
Yes. So we were able
Yeah.
to save, and then we got together, and then things got a little bit more serious with us. And I was like, you want to invest in this house project?
Another business pitch.
Here's
I love
my
the
dream.
business pitches. That's
Did you have a pitch deck? You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
welcome to the
Presentation.
presentation tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the whole thing.
God, that's a good idea. I should
Yeah.
do that with Alicia and with Kyle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Investors,
And
possibly you.
yes.
Possibly.
And so finally found some land and was able to pull the trigger and get going on building a house. So it was a really cool project. It's like an owner builder program. So I'm not a general contractor. I don't know anything about building a house.
Okay, good. I was
You
going to
have-
ask.
That's
You
what
have
my
some
next
knowledge
question.
from helping your parents. It's not like you're clueless. You understand
Needs a
aspects.
door.
I
Some
understand like,
How do hammers work?
yeah, that you can
Like,
figure it out like you would figure out like a business. There's
Right.
all these pieces and someone's got to come first before the next person. And then you would just basically sub out who you need and vet people to come help do the things you don't know how to do.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Were you and Google really good friends?
oh, yeah,
yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
University.
I would
big time.
imagine. I do know a friend who did build his own house in Palmer, and he's like, I learned everything from YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, really?
Yeah.
Like building a house? Because you think, well, at least for me, I don't know, but like when I think YouTube University, I think, oh, like videos and design. Like, well, that's the stuff I do, or like whatever, photography, wedding classes or whatever. But building a house, I'm like, you can learn literally how to build a house.
Oh,
on there.
definitely.
Yeah, you're only in like one little tiny sliver of
I know.
YouTube.
It's
And then-
insane.
yeah, because sometimes I'll stumble across something like I'll need to change the vents in the house or something
Yeah.
like that. And I'll start getting into like repair YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
cars.
Oh, yeah.
Automotives.
you mean I can do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to expand your algorithm. For
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Oh, well, I like my algorithm the way it is. But let's talk about that, because I think that's kind of fascinating, because the mindset for some people, me included, would be like, ooh, no. Build a house, building business, yeah, I can do that.
Mhm.
Building a house, no. I'm scared to I'm gonna build this wrong. So like, walk me through that and how that was, and like building the, starting to build it, and
Definitely.
what you needed to do, and whatever.
Yeah. So it's very intimidating. Obviously, it's a humongous project, but I mean, like any project, you can break it down to tons of steps. And so each step has multiple steps below. So I would just start there and be like, who's first? Who do you got to talk to first? It's like, okay, we got to clear the land. I'm like, who's going to help me chainsaw? So we would just go out there and start chainsawing, and then we would just go from there. Okay, we got to hire an architect. And then I gave my drawings to the architect. And then I said, can you help make these legal like plans? Here's my plans, but I'm not an architect.
It's just
so
like sketched on
yeah,
like a
just
piece
sketched
of
on
paper.
graph
Like on a
paper,
graph
like
paper.
pen and
Oh wow.
pencil and
So you've
paper.
really had like an idea and a dream,
Yeah.
and a vision for a house.
Oh, definitely.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
And then once I had the plans legal, then it's basically you're bringing kind of like a business pitch to the bank. Like they want to
Right.
see like a binder. They want to see all the pricing. They want to see all the spreadsheets all laid out. Like how much is this all going to cost and what are you going to get approved for? So it's just basically like getting approved for a regular house. Kind of same qualifications. They're just like, okay, cool. You can afford this much house if you go buy one. So it's kind of the same thing as if you go build one.
Sure.
So it's a regular mortgage and everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can hire out any portion of house getting
so like,
built.
I'm not an electrician.
But you can be in charge of a lot of the decisions.
Where did the design of the house come from? Like you said, you kind of had this idea since you were in high school. Like, did you see it like movie form, or did you have this vision of like and I'm assuming like the shape and everything that you saw or the layout?
Definitely. I mean, it's a pretty small house. It looks a little bit more lavish than it is because it's nice, but it's only 1,200 square feet.
Sure.
And it's like a shed roof modern with big windows, all glass, everything. And then we have like some like unique, cool features, like cool siding and nice things like that. But
black.
I think that like the inspiration wise comes from like homes in Scandinavia and New Zealand and Australia have really amazing style for their architecture. And I've just always been jealous and like always just loved architecture, I guess. And always hated Anchorage architecture.
Oh, yeah. Is there Anchorage architecture?
No.
No.
Well, I mean,
it's not a thing.
It exists, but it's not. Yeah.
It's just a brick square buildings. Not even brick. We don't even
some
have
of the
brick
Sage,
buildings.
everything
70s,
beige.
80s homes. Ooh.
I wonder if it's like a need to have something for your like that's your own, or if it's just like more of like I just wouldn't feel right buying something that I didn't enjoy or didn't like and then have to change every single thing in the house anyway because we're just picky.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be picky with the decisions. So it's just like, okay, if I buy this house, then we're going to have to tear it all down and change everything.
Interesting. So you're like, fuck that. Let's just go straight for it. I'm going to build it the way I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love that. That is that entrepreneur mentality for sure.
What's the total timeline from like when you're like, I'm looking for land to completion?
Finding the land was the most difficult part for us. I mean, Anchorage is really difficult for land. I'm constantly just looking at land just to see what comes up. Just like you never know. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We got alerts.
I moved on from
Alerts
this
are
house.
on.
I don't like this house.
Got Google alerts.
Big land guy. I'm a big land guy.
Definitely. But if you have good land, you're like way
set.
ahead of the game. Yeah. You call me, I'll take it. But the house, like once we broke ground on actually starting the house, it was a 1-year project. So you do want to go fairly fast because
winter,
once
everything.
once the like timer starts, it's basically you're paying on an all interest loan until you get it completed, it gets inspected, and then you can wrap it into a real mortgage. But when you're doing the build out, it's an all interest loan. So you want to kind of hurry up and get it done.
Yeah, makes sense.
You don't want to drag it out unless you're like paying out of pocket, but I don't know who's doing that to build a house.
Well,
Sure.
A big portion of building the house was in the wintertime. So
Yeah, unfortunately.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So this house was like kind of a big deal too because it made like HGTV and stuff. I mean, like, and so was this during the process of building it? People found out about this? Or was it your Instagram?
Yeah, we decided to document the house build, which is we've completely fallen off that Instagram account, but it was called My Alaskan Home, and it was kind of our way to like, I don't know, I kind of think of it as like a personal journal of like
a blog basically
of like building the house, and then I think that as difficult it is to like keep up with posting and stuff like that, it was kind of like an opportunity to kind of show people that this is something you can do, and you don't have, this isn't like out of reach for everyone. Like this is, this can be done on like a very like regular salary. As long as you have the mindset to be organized or want to run this kind of business. But it wasn't, it's not unattainable basically. So that's where we kind of like wanted to like post about it, and people really enjoyed seeing the progress and what we were doing and talking about how the house came up. And then,
you guys had a vibe.
Yeah, apartment.
You had a vibe. You had an aesthetic.
You took a photo like from the same angle, and there was a stop motion from like literally the whole house getting built, and that was like I feel like really like a hot seller.
Yeah,
a hot seller. Yeah.
But so HGTV and I think it was apartment therapy. They wanted to get
Oh,
photos.
that's what it was. Yeah, apartment therapy.
They wanted to get photos of the house. Like we had just moved. It was like the week we moved in. So it's like
We're
didn't
still
have
sleeping on a mattress.
We had no money at all. Like we're like we don't have a dining room table. We don't have any, like we have nothing. We're like, and so we went and raided my parents' house for like we got like a coffee table from them. We got art for the walls and stuff. We got like we like
had to
grabbed
stage the home.
We had to stage the house. We were
MTV cribbed it.
Yeah, we went over budget, and we're like we can't make this look like what we want it to look like right now. It would be too expensive. And
we even borrowed their dog.
Yeah, we even
No way, really?
yeah, we did.
They're Newfoundland. We were like, buddy, you're hanging out here. Do you have cheese?
Yeah, dude. Apartment therapy's gonna love
Yeah,
this.
it was. Yeah, he was definitely like the star.
But it was
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome.
It was cool to like talk to them about the process and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It was pretty fun. Yeah.
Man, that's wild, dude.
Yeah.
Especially like being in Alaska, I feel like there's another thing of like we're so disconnected, and then people just kind of like are like, well, I guess it is what it is. Like I'm just gonna, but you know, you could easily be like, I'm just gonna move into the house and I'll be fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Buy the new house, whatever. But you're like, fuck that. Like, no, this is what we want, and we're gonna work towards it. And we're gonna start a photography business to do it. A lot of people are like, I mean. Like, oh, I have dreams, I have goals, but it's like, oh, well, this is just dreams and goals. And like, it's kind of cool because you guys are like living proof that it's doable. It can happen if you just work hard and, you know, make a lot of money selling wedding photography.
Yeah.
So
It helps.
yeah. So you guys were in wedding photography for a while. You moved into this house. And so you kind of kept doing wedding photography. Like, where's that timeline?
Yeah. We pretty much did that.
When was the LSD
up in-
trip? Sorry.
There's been many.
I'm
but
curious.
That one particularly, that one was in probably 2018
Okay. So
or
a
19.
few
Yeah,
years
like
before.
about a year and a
feeling
half
go.
before we opened the shop,
Okay.
where it was just like,
So you only had like 2 years of plant life under your belt?
oh yeah.
That's
We
actually
had a few plants, and then it was kind of like accelerated.
Well, even when we committed to opening the shop, we were like, we need to study.
I was like, we should probably
On
learn the
LSD.
plants we have at home.
Where do you get? I know this is.
I was gonna say,
I would
don't
just like
say that.
Don't say the person or anything, but like, how
What's
do you
his
get?
name and where's his address?
Yeah. What's his phone number right now? How do you get trustworthy drugs? How do you feel like? Is that through like acquaintances? Because that's what my concern is like with shrooms or anything,
Sure.
or any drug nowadays with all the crazy stuff that's going on. It's like, how do
Yeah.
you trust anything?
You do have to be careful.
Very careful.
Yeah.
It's normally a guy in a cloak.
Yeah. Cloaks are
Cloaks are fairly
that's
trustworthy.
trustworthy.
There's a guy on the highway today walking with a cloak on. It's like, what is this guy doing, dude? Maybe he's got LSD.
Yeah. He's
That's
you know
who.
it's probably not tainted. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody wears a cloak that's trying to trick you.
I don't think, well, yeah, and you would hope that LSD would be the safer one because
yeah.
it's not a powder and it's not, it's not any of those things. And generally, people in the psychedelic realm are very giving and very understanding that this is like a very powerful, shareable thing that they want other people to experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different than other hard drugs where it's like, there's definitely like a different stigma to it, you know, and so generally a trustworthy friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I mean, I've never done LSD, but I would imagine I'd be like, I trust you. I feel like, hey, bud, FBI, disregard this next text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please
Don't look
listen.
at my phone.
Emoji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Siri called drug dealer. That's
No,
like,
that is one thing because, like, we've had people on here, and it's like, I did mushrooms, and then I had this like really profound songwriting moment, or or people write about being on mushrooms and their songs, or and so we're very like curious, but also petrified.
Oh, and it should be scary.
It is scary,
Yeah.
but also like it's funny because like for a while, I think when we were in business, like starting a business together, the big thing was ayahuasca at that time, and so we were like, you know what, skip everything else. Let's go straight to
I'm
the
ready
big.
to throw up.
Let's
Go to a
straight to the
ceremony
big
now.
boy. Let's go to the big boy.
I'm
of
gonna cry
drugs.
and I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, it's definitely a world that I'm like fascinated.
And you guys
with.
did that?
No.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Not yet.
Yeah, let down. That was a
Okay.
big
Yeah.
buzzkill.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, we didn't do it. Not yet. I like how you said that.
Not yet.
Not
That's
yet.
important to throw in there because the older I get, the more open I am to like
Oh, 100%.
different experiences. But I also don't want to be that guy that tries something the first time and like dies or like freaks out or
Sure.
something. Like I want to experience different stuff, but like I hate to say this, responsibly.
Of course.
You know,
No,
like
definitely.
to an extent.
And I've done these things irresponsibly before and had difficult trips or difficult experiences, and those are very really powerful learning experiences that is useful to go through. But there's definitely ways to counter or to make sure that
Curate
doesn't
it like
happen.
a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn the tricks of yourself, and you learn yourself a little bit better through each one of these experiences. And I mean, I've had so much value from these experiences in my life. It's like really high up there on like the
Interesting.
on the power
Must do.
level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it should be respected, and it definitely should be taken pretty seriously. But
We're looking for a responsible shaman to help guide us through our future trip.
I think it's just fascinating because it's like, that's the only, like mushrooms or LSD is like the only thing that can build neural pathways, like new neural pathways. And it's like kind of amazing, but also terrifying but exciting. But also I'm like, what can this do for me? Like what's next? But I know how I am. Like if I smoke, oh my God, dude. I mean, I'm just going to say, I call, what was it? Modest Mouse.
Mhm.
Modest Mouse was like one of the last times I smoked weed because it was like the scariest thing. I call it the joint of no return. So everybody's passing it around. And then next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, sure. Hell yeah. No, I was done. And then, so ever since then, I've been like a little scared. And so now I do a lot of edibles or we, drink
Oh,
the drink stuff. THC drink or whatever.
What was that?
So that stuff I'm like, I can do, but it's just like, all right, what's next? That's like the next step. So we're very curious, me and my wife especially, we're like, we should just go out to Talkeetna, just spend a few days, do some mushrooms, just chill out, watch a movie or something. I don't know.
For 3
I think
days.
you're onto something.
I mean, we did do that a couple years ago, but we didn't have enough mushrooms. I'm a big boy, so like I didn't take enough. But it's there. Step 1 has been done. Step 2 is coming soon.
You got the taste.
And yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so 2018, got the LSD trip. You're getting into plant life. You spend $300 at Lowe's, which is funny because it's like, right, when before you guys, that's where I would go for plants too. Like, oh, let's just go to Lowe's. I mean, I have plants at Lowe's and stuff. And so that's another beautiful thing about Alaska is like there's a lot of opportunity to kind of do what you want to do up here. And there's not that many people who are going to challenge you, right? Not many competition. Even photography. Now, there's a lot more photographers, but I would imagine like, it was, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was probably possible to become a little bit more well-known with good branding and good photos and whatnot, and to stick out a little bit farther than, if you were in Seattle or highly congested market.
there's room.
Like
There's room here.
Yeah.
There's room here for like every industry.
That's why I say Alaska got so much opportunity here. Like come here, learn, build up your business, and then if you want to, you can leave. But honestly, why would you at that point?
If you're going to compete with us, though, don't come up here.
Yeah, if you're going to start another podcast.
Just don't. It's a terrible market.
No, it's a great market. Anyway, so you're starting the business. And so basically, what was your first steps there to start the plant coffee business?
Yeah.
Wanna talk about our road trip?
Well, yeah. So we did a little inspo road trip, which was a good start to the planning stage. So we went down to Southern California and we drove up the coast, up to Portland.
Oh, yeah.
And we just basically we took inspiration from nature and inspiration from a bunch of cool coffee shops along the way. We stopped at other plant shops and garden stores and stopped at nurseries. And we just wanted to like kind of see what was out there on the West Coast. Like, what do you got? Like, what's
a boutique plant store. What does that look like?
Yeah.
What does our idea look like? Because we know this exists somewhere in like a certain form, but we hadn't seen it yet in person.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just see what was available and then be like, okay, well, our spin is different, or we have this take on something, or we would do this different, and we're just big judges. So we're just driving around,
taking notes,
driving around the country, judging everything.
Yeah. You're in the shop and you're next to the owner. You're like, this is shit. We're not gonna do this.
Thumbs down.
He's like
Looking
right
at
next
brands,
to you.
like, oh we don't want that.
How long did the road trip take?
Like a week or so.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
it was pretty
okay.
quick.
Yeah,
it was
that's
pretty
a
quick.
good time though. And
Yeah.
so you
I
guys
love
were camping out on the way or staying?
No, we would stay at places along the way, and then after that was my first summer off with no work because my family had sold their bakery and I was not working, which was amazing. I had just never had time off. We stopped doing wedding photography. We stopped doing florals, because Tanya's also a florist, and we. Tanya was still working at Moose's Tooth and Beartooth, and we weren't sure if the plant shop was going to be sustainable for 2 incomes. So the plan was to keep her at working to start and
Sure.
see how that goes.
Right.
And that was immediately canceled. But probably a couple of weeks before we opened the shop, we were like, we need you full time. We can't. Yeah, we
Right.
can't do
There's
this.
just so much
That
work
quick.
to
There
be
was too
done.
much to
and
do,
I was
like,
doing the
before we
design
opened.
work for everything and the
Yeah.
website. And then I was also designing Johnny's Produce branding and their website. So it was like,
Yeah, it
Which
was
I
a
want to
lot.
get
I don't
into
have
too,
time.
because I'm obsessed with branding. So I definitely want to talk about that. So let's put a pin in that. But
Okay.
yeah, continue.
So, I mean, as far as starting this business goes, it's kind of hard to run numbers because you don't really know anything. You're like, can I sell 10 plants a day? Can
Yeah.
I sell 20? Do I sell 50? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to find
Very
the
volatile.
market of how many people are out there looking for this kind of thing. We knew that we were looking for it. So we were like, I think this will work. But it was definitely a big question mark at the beginning, especially with how do you get the plants to Alaska when it's freezing cold? Because we opened in the winter. So that was pretty scary. And then there was, how many do we need to buy? And like,
Yeah.
well, you know, what does this even look like?
how do we teach people how to care for these things?
Yeah. And do we need employees? Can we afford employees?
Yeah.
Anything like that. And at the beginning, it was like, no, we can't. We're going to have to.
Just do two.
We're just going to do
two of
us.
you?
And then right before we opened, we decided we needed one person to help. So we had one person come in.
So two of you and one person.
Part-time.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Very quickly, that was not even close to enough help.
That's cool though.
We have 16 now
Holy crap.
between the
Between
two
the two
stores,
stores.
though. So 8, basically kind of 8 at each store, 8 to 9 at each store.
Wow. That's a lot. You're the boss.
We're
You're
like,
the bosses.
okay, we're just going to work the two of us and then maybe a part-time employee. Like, that, I think that's going to work.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, that's
Nope.
a joke.
Yeah.
What's a typical customer look like to you in terms of like if somebody comes in and buys a plant,
Mhm.
like are they set for 2 months, 3 months, or are they back a week later to add? Like what's the
Oh, yeah.
rebuy kind of like
We have like
situation?
It's a
lots of
range.
different types of customers.
Yeah.
We have the customer that just wants a plant in their office and they want to come in and
Right.
get something. We have people
Mhm.
come in to get gifts. We also have people who are like collectors.
Sure.
Like think of it as like
Plant
trading
collectors.
card collectors or
Sure.
someone who's like, I have to have every single thing I don't have.
Mm.
And they will get every single thing they don't have.
Interesting.
They have lists. They have, they're looking for certain things. They have, there's rare plants and there's collector's plants and there's really expensive plants that would surprise a lot of people that
Sure.
people are very into collecting and taking care of.
That's sweet. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. There's a whole
Yeah.
nother world I didn't know about.
Well, first off, if you saw Dennis the Menace back when you were a kid and he has a special plant that blooms one night after like 20 years
Yeah,
or something.
You mean
like
the old movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I haven't seen that movie
That
in
is like
forever.
the great, and he ruins
Deep cut, Kyle.
I'm just saying that
Deep
was a
cut.
great movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But like, so how do you plan for that? Because you said when you open up the shop, you're like, how often am I going to be rebuying plants or stocking
Yeah.
up? And you have some people that, like you said, are maybe once a year or for a birthday or something. And then you got the guy that's in there, the creepy guy that comes in like 7 times a day to collect a bunch of things.
Yeah.
you
They're
know?
not creepy though. They're great.
I'm sure you got.
We know them by name. We have their phone number.
What's their address?
Yeah.
We text them photos when things come in. Yeah.
Ooh, that's,
Oh,
that's
wow.
the hot one.
Inside scoop.
Yeah,
they get the
yeah.
VIP
Wow.
treatment.
Yeah, they get VIP
Yeah.
And
treatment.
so they're like the first one. They're like
Oh, yeah.
screeching into the parking
Oh,
lot.
big time.
Do you have
Yeah,
private
yeah.
showings?
Big
Like-
time. Oh, yeah, a couple times, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of
Bring them over to where we process plants at
Bring 'em down to the
at a
basement.
warehouse. Yeah.
We have brought people there. Yeah.
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 Oh, I love it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't need to get into the underworld of plants.
We do.
The underground plant
Yeah,
world.
the black market.
In the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you took an average or something, or is it just kind of like, I mean, it's cyclical of some sort?
Yes,
I
we kind of had
imagine.
to just wing it at the beginning and just pick a number and just be like, let's just buy a bunch and see if it fills up the shop. And then we quickly realized that it was not enough.
We sold out the first
week,
day.
yeah, within our first 2
Holy
days, we sold out.
Mm.
And you can't just get plants here
Right.
like quickly. And we had already
Especially in the winter.
no,
It's
so
January, right?
we had already scheduled an
Yeah.
event for that second weekend that we were open.
We had like a maker's market.
which was we shouldn't have done this. It was crazy. We didn't have any employees. We had like 10 makers selling their items,
Small
their
goods,
jewelry, their
yeah.
goods. We had
Mm.
Nick Carpenter playing music.
Oh.
We were just like, it was packed. There was
Food
like,
truck.
it felt like there was
Yeah.
300 people in there, and it's such a small space.
We
And
were like,
we sold out.
embarrassing.
We sold out of plants the day before that.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're just coffee now,
So-
guys.
It was, yeah. I mean,
Did you go to Lowe's?
for 2 weeks, we had to tell every single person that we are a plant shop. Plants will be coming.
Oh my
like,
goodness.
please come back. Like literally every person, because it was kind of like, are you?
So I did go to Lowe's.
You're good. Yeah.
You got called out too.
I had to. We had an empty
By the
store.
way.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
We didn't make any money on all those plants. I just resold them for how much I bought them for because I didn't want to. It was like they were expensive, and I
You
was
needed
like,
to have
I
something.
have to have something in here.
Yeah.
We have nothing until next Saturday because they come, from all over the United States, but it takes a long time to get here.
Well, and it was Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah.
So
Ooh,
for
yeah.
that, you
Oh
had
my
to like
gosh.
pre-order like last year, like at least 6 months before.
Yeah, we
It's
had-
like,
we didn't know what
like
we were
have
doing.
the shipping in order for that. So
That's
it's
the
not like,
beauty.
oh, like we need some more plants. Like, will they get here next week? It's like, no, cutie. That's not
No,
no.
It's like,
Oh, man.
That's a cute thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go into like our Google, like if you just like Google our business and have like Google photos that customers post,
Oh.
there's some on there from like our first week, and I'm like, oh my god, there's literally like 5 plants in the
it's like
shop.
pots
Yeah.
and the
It looks terrible.
tables. Yeah.
You got to report those people.
I've tried. I'm like,
We've tried
please
to, like,
flag.
flood
like,
them
Google,
with
this
new
isn't us.
photos.
We're a
Yeah.
plant company.
I'm flagging,
Google.
I'm flagging it
Yeah.
and everything.
Tell them the story about the Lowe's woman.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
so
we had like an open and shut article in
yeah, so
ADN.
we were in the ADN for open and shut,
Uh-huh.
and then I pull up. I'm at Lowe's and I have a cart with like 500 plants on it. Like we're just like carts, like bunch of carts of plants. And she looks at me and she's like, "I know you," because it was like our faces on the article.
Cute Asian
And
lady
she like
just,
points
like-
at the plants
like-
and looks at me and she's like, "Oh," and I was like,
Sneaky, sneaky.
The cutest story ever. She's like, I won't tell anyone.
Yeah.
it was so
Very
funny.
cute. Yeah.
That's so
But
fun.
we were
Oh,
embarrassed. We didn't know what to do, and
Yeah.
we had an event, and we were like, "We need something."
dude, that's business.
Yeah,
It's like it happens sometimes. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
it's
awesome.
not the word. I mean, the timing's terrible, but selling out is hardly a problem usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
definitely.
for the timing
But
situation,
it's the first
yeah.
impression.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah, and it was like this new cool hip thing, and
Yeah.
it was just like people wanted to come in, and then we were like,
People wanted to spend money and there was nothing to spend
I
money
know.
on but
Yeah.
coffee.
So everybody's in there like, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
what is this place?
It's
Yeah.
a plant company.
"Yeah,
Okay, so leading up to the thing too, because I'm also a sucker for marketing. How did you guys get the word out there? Just tell your friends, word of mouth, internet advertisements.
I don't think we've ever done any advertising.
Oh,
It was
that's so
just
cool.
like kind of a lot of teasing on Instagram with photos from the greenhouse or from like our personal plants.
Mhm.
And then we were like, "Are you ready?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah." So yeah, just
teasing
Instagram. We just
people. Yeah.
we had some like
Well, and then there's a Facebook group, Alaska Houseplants.
Mm.
Alaska
Enthusiasts.
houseplant enthusiasts.
And so I
Interesting.
think they have like 15,000 members.
Oh,
like
no,
Oh
they
my
have way more than that.
for
God.
Alaska, maybe
Yeah,
more now.
they're huge.
But
It's a
we
huge
were
page.
like, "Hey guys, we're opening," and then that's kind of how we sold out. Like from the morning, like it was
Right.
kind of like
Oh, wow.
herds were coming in. Everyone was really excited, and
Wild.
yeah.
That's what.
That's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of people don't ever think about that when they start a business. Is that there are as much as Facebook's old people
Of
territory
course, yeah.
of some sort. Like you go on there, you can find groups for anything, and you find these diehards that will buy that specific thing. For instance, when we started Cutting Caliber, I got on all these pomade groups, and that's how we kind of started. Was we found a group that had like, I don't know, it was like 20,000 people in it that were obsessed with hair products, and I'm like, geez.
When we say obsessed, it was like
It was real.
They,
Weird.
like-
it was weird.
these guys. I'm not
You have
bashing
like the
them.
OnlyFans.
Dude, these
was-
guys, they had like cabinets and cabinets. And like, you know how people would put like, the German dolls or like bowls or glassware? No, these guys would put pomades and like put that in their living room. Like that was like I've never
Like-
seen that level of passion
Yeah,
for
like
hair
the guy
products.
that buys
Wow.
the 7 plants.
Yeah, yeah.
These guys had like vintage pomades, and it was like a trading market. And then
yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
hey
Yeah.
That
guys,
was
like
big.
I need rent this month, so I'm trading my collection. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus, this is real bad.
Whoa.
And so-
What's like a jar of some like rare shit go for?
Yeah.
I mean, you could get. I mean,
Some
typically in
sometimes,
the maybe $50 to $60 range. Like the thing is you don't really usually want super old stuff. Like you want
It
a
has
rare,
a certain scent.
right? You want
Yeah.
like a rare can that was like a limited
can.
edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the metal tins and all that stuff. So I would send stuff to these testers that were on there that would do reviews and YouTube videos, and they would give you like, 6 for hold, 7 for smell, 8 for texture, 9 for washability.
Total different
all
world,
this stuff.
right?
And you're just
wow.
all
the senses.
Yeah, it's just like probably when you just get into the plants, like you realize there's these people that live for this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And you're like,
It's the algorithm. It changes, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, pomade. Wow.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just
Plants.
like if I told anybody that was starting a business, I'd be like, get on Facebook groups that are obsessed with
Yeah.
what you're doing
Mhm.
and market there. Because that's like even with podcasters, podcast groups that are hundreds of thousands of people that are just looking for new podcasts or podcasters helping other people. It's like
Right.
you can find anything on there. So
Yeah.
Facebook isn't quite dead. I just don't love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't love it either.
Yeah.
No, nobody loves it anymore, I don't think. Okay, so one of the things I love about the store, and I think people love about it too, is the branding, right? You guys are very, visual, like heavy, I guess you could say, right? You're like, you understand what looks good, what feels good. And so your branding. And so where did the branding, let's talk about that because I'm obsessed with branding. Let's talk about like the process, like what do I want people to feel? Was it the branding you used for the wedding photography and you just brought it over and made a whole batch of new designs? Also Johnny's Produce with the sketched logos, like the illustrative, components of that. Let's talk about the branding just a little bit. We might lose people, but you won't lose me, that's for sure.
No, I think it's very exciting. Like any great business and also like starting our house project, we started with a good old mood board on Pinterest.
Hell yeah. Were you guys just like adding to it? Like, oh
yes.
yeah. Oh yeah. This is good.
100%.
Like, just-
100%. So like my sort of process for creating a mood board is just like pinning everything and anything I visually enjoy and I think would be a good fit. And then I kind of just go through the entire page and then I look for similarities. Like, okay, I'm obviously really drawn to this color, really drawn to like this type of siding or like, for our house at least. And, just kind of starting to find similarities and then basically create a digital mood board on like Illustrator and Design with just the components that fit together. And then I pull colors from those images and then I just create like a little color palette. So that's kind of how it begins. And then same for like specific like type fonts and things like that, just playing around and see what looks good. It's a lot of trial and error and just being like, I am shit. The creative process takes its toll. And
imposter
then,
syndrome seeps in right in the beginning.
Yep. You're like, who am I? What am I doing here? Yeah. So it kind of eventually goes into something that's cohesive and it makes sense. And then,
what does your Illustrator boards look like in Illustrator? Because mine are a
it's pure
complete
chaos.
disaster.
100%.
And then when someone asks for it, I'm like,
You have to make a new document.
duplicate and then just make a new one and then clean it up.
Clean it
and
up.
It's kind of
a
like
clean
a
one.
disaster. And then you're like, this is my disaster. No one else's. And then,
because there's beauty in the chaos. There's like something there that you're like, oh yeah, where was that again? And you like go to the part where it's like 10 different fonts and you grab that logo and you're like, this is it. This is one, and bring different parts. But I think that's the beautiful thing about like the branding aspect is like everything goes. Like there's so much you can do with it. You can go different ways, but also it's a vibe. It's a feeling. I love that you started with Pinterest and then you just put everything and anything and then you whittle it down and then out comes kind of like your creative take on everything combined, right? Is that kind of, am I understanding clearly?
Definitely. And a lot of our like shop inspiration came from our house. Like we have the siding on the coffee bar and that was inspired by the siding of our house.
Oh, cool.
And our whole house is just like really earth tone and it's really inviting and warm. And that translated into our business as well. So we wanted like a lot of earth tones. We wanted to feel really homey, which is why the couches are in there. We wanted it to feel like a home.
Too.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love that. Yeah, because it does have a good vibe. I mean, I've only seen pictures of your house, but it does have a good vibe looking at it and also looking at your store. There's a similar aesthetic there that I'm like, oh, they just know what the fuck they're doing. It just feels good. Like you got that feeling.
I know.
Oh my God.
That might even be the name of the episode, you know?
And designing for yourself is always the most difficult. You're going to be almost like way more judgmental on like everything you're doing. And so when we were creating the branding for Johnny's Produce, we were like, okay, so this is going to be kind of like the parents and the kids in one space, like dynamic. And so it kind of had a more vintage feel. It had kind of this like, like kind of vintage produce, like
market
style.
like an old produce market.
Yeah. Well, and actually when we did the road trip, we had Carson's folks with us. So while we were driving around, we went to like little markets, and I would obviously get inspiration for their branding kind of
taking pics, drawing. Yeah. It's funny that you say designing for yourself is the hardest. I only recently found that out. Like I didn't design our artwork for the podcast. A lot of people are like, damn, you did a really good job. I was like, I didn't do it because like I worked for months and I just didn't like anything I was working on because it was like, this sucks, this is shit, this sucks, this is shit. And then finally I was like, Kyle, we need to spend money and like get a guy who can do it. And so
can't you do this for free, Steven?
Is
that what you do?
That's what everybody asks. But I'm like, when it comes to like my things, I'm like, damn, like I can do like social media posts or whatever, but like the branding, it is a difficult thing and people don't understand it. So kudos to you guys for like doing it yourself and like being like, no, let's fucking get it done.
It's so important too. Branding is the most
100%.
Right.
And I think that's why your store in my head sticks out a lot because it's like, we live in a town that, was famously said like we're 7 years behind the times.
Just a lot of years.
We're just a little bit of old fashioned. And so like when something new comes in, something new, fresh, and it's like hip and there's like good branding, it's like, oh my God, like, yes, I love this.
Someone came in and
people latch on.
Someone came in and said like a really nice compliment, and they were like, Anchorage can have nice things. Like we can do it.
Yeah.
I'm
like,
yes, I love that.
Well, and once we built our house, we didn't want to move, and we were like, how do we make Anchorage like what we want it to be? Like, what kinds of things would we enjoy doing here? And we were like, let's just do that.
It's like, how can you
we wanted
curate,
to have like a gathering space. We wanted to have a place where like we had a lot of local makers, which we do. We have local coffee. Like it's very centered around the community, and we do a lot of donations and fundraisers. And so it's like everything that's important to us is encompassing in that Feeling Co. And
well, and what we didn't expect was to have like a whole team of amazing employees that are now such close friends of ours, like all of them. It's so weird. I wouldn't have thought that because I just wasn't expecting to have a team like this. And now like I couldn't imagine doing it without them. They're all like just amazing. And
the powerhouse of the...
Yeah, and they've all been around for a long time. They love what we're doing. They're all about it. And we try to inspire them or have, show them that they can do what they want to do as well. And they're all artists and creatives in their own right. Yeah. And that's been a really rewarding is just having this team of employees and being able to hang out with them and learn from them and have them learn from us. And that's been really cool.
Yeah. Shout out to good employees.
Yeah. We got a cool team.
You know who you guys are.
What's that look like? So are you guys sitting down in the interviews and all that stuff with the people, both of you?
Yeah.
A little 2-on-1. Oh God.
Yeah.
Good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. And I don't smile at all.
Carson
the
does
whole
like
interview.
a straight face,
I like it.
and then
Yeah.
it's a test.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so
solid.
are these you guys putting out the job openings to basically anybody, or is it kind of like friends of friends a lot of times? Or
well, at the beginning we got a couple of coffee pros right at the very beginning.
Okay,
so we got some
Makes
coffee
sense.
pros, and that really helped just dial in the bar, dial in our recipes, dial in just that we wanted to make sure that our coffee was on point. Because there's, when you're like a business that has two things going on, I feel like there could be a disconnect on one or the other. Like if you walk in there, you're going to be like, oh, it's a cool plant shop. And I'm like, I don't know if this coffee's going to be good or not because this is a plant shop. So we want to like pleasantly surprise someone and be like, oh, that was great. Or I'll come back and get a latte sometime on my way to work or something, So we were really wanted to be strict and make sure that front was getting done correctly. So we had a few employees with a ton of coffee experience come in and really help dial that in right at the beginning. And then we started pulling from them and they started getting their old coworkers or their old friends. And we just really kind of worked a lot from internally.
Poaching Pilates.
I just want to make this very clear. We never poached anyone ever.
Sorry, I just add shit.
We have a lot of a lot of team from Black Cup and Pilates.
Oh, because I mean, like that's the only other coffee shop. Yeah, I'd say it's small. Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't mean poaching in the bad
We're not.
way.
I'm not poaching.
Was there
Listen,
poaching a good way
Tim,
aside from
Brad.
that?
Another one. Yeah.
Like, we're coming for your Pilates.
No, not the vibe. But so and then once we started getting and realizing, like, in order to give us more time to focus on bigger picture things or growing with the second location, which we weren't expecting to do really
So quickly,
especially, we were able to start laying on more tasks with the crew and delegating a little bit more and seeing them thrive with that, those responsibilities, and really kind of take all of that off our plate so that we can focus on other things. And now, we can take off easily, and we can feel no stress at all about going on vacation or that things are getting taken care of, and they want more. They want more to do. They want more to take care of, which is awesome.
Wow.
Was that pretty hard at first? Because like I think of it as like the teenager getting to stay home alone now, because this is something you guys started, and now you're leaving other people kind of in charge of your biggest asset in some regards. And so you had to find people, obviously, that in a very short time be like, I trust you to kind of run the store how it's supposed to run. Because we've never, at least me, I've never been in that situation where I have employees that I'm like, I trust you guys to do everything without me even being here.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was that like in terms of, did you find the one person that
You sound like the old principal in like an 80s movie, like, the kids better be good.
yeah, I will kill you.
Well, do I trust you?
Well, right. Like that would be hard for me because I just like have a hard time with trusting people with like very big things that matter to me.
Well, and a lot of business owners do. That's why you see a lot of business owners doing
Working
everything.
it, right.
Yeah.
But that's not. I mean, I just don't think that's efficient, and I feel like there's much better things for your time to do.
Oh,
so
100%.
when you lay that trust on them, then they're either going to rise to the occasion or they're not going to be able to do it, and you'll know pretty quickly if they're not going to be able to do it. So I love just giving the responsibility away and
as quickly
and
as
just
possible,
trusting it.
just
Yeah,
seeing,
just letting them go for it if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And just lots of intimidation.
Right. The no smiling, I'm sure.
Perfect.
I could see the no smiling working really well because most of the time people are like, oh, I want him to like me, or, and if you're just straight faced, they just don't know how to read it.
Yeah.
They have no clue what's going on.
That's one of my things is like my wife, she doesn't let her emotions sometimes show on her face. And I'm like, especially if we're having a serious discussion,
conversation. Yeah.
I'm just like, what the fuck? She fucking hates me.
She's a psychopath. She's
She
not even smiling.
fucking hates me. And then I'll be like, what are you thinking right now? She's like, oh, I'm just really stoked about us. And I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. Like I'm over here being like, oh, she hates me. I did something wrong. But then she's like, no, I just like, whatever. I love us. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Then I realized you can't read everybody. Can't read everybody.
Well, and it's also kind
Can't
of
read
like
the smiles.
it's a psychology trick too of not showing emotion or not responding to somebody because that makes them open up more to you, and you can get more information out of people when you don't react.
Interesting.
I don't know if you
Yeah, manipulation is
Exactly.
really strong tactic.
So, it's worth knowing. Don't use it badly.
What was it? It was John Mulaney, I think, who said in like one of his routines, it was like basically like if someone says a number on the phone, like money wise, like I'm going to pay you this much money.
Don't respond.
Don't respond. And just like be
Just
quiet.
hold it out.
Yeah.
Because they're like, is that good enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just quiet even more.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
we could go higher.
we could go 2,000 more?
Yeah.
All right, that works. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
silent. There is something in silence. There is something there for sure.
So with your guys' dynamic being together and in business together, I gotta imagine that's difficult sometimes with like decision making because you guys are equals and you guys are designing stuff. How do you guys come to a conclusion if you guys disagree on stuff?
I think disagreements are pretty rare for us. I think
You guys are just like, that's dope. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah. So luckily we have like the same style. So we
That
very
makes it
rarely
easier.
disagree on style decisions or those kind of decisions. And we also have our own specialties. Like we have our own, like I'm more numbers and I do accounting and I do all of the payroll and all of that kind of stuff. And
Right.
other other duties as well. And Tanya's a artist, and she's working on, other little projects and working with employees on other things, and doing all the design work for our merch and doing design work for the website and making this. And I have a huge design list that I just keep throwing at her to make more of. And
that's the disagreements. Like, please stop with the list.
And then I'll be like, I'll design it myself. And then it's like,
and then he's testing me. It's the testing phase. Yeah.
It's like, you're not
It's
doing
why
that.
are you an illustrator right now? Don't worry about it.
And he's like, I can do this. And I'm like, here's my computer, go. Yeah.
It's hard. Designing is so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of that.
It's just
then.
really good balance. I think
Right.
we kind of learned that from photography and like just doing like the house project and different things where it's just a really good balance. Like we have different things that we bring to the table, but then we definitely have like an intuitiveness to just like finding solutions and just kind of make things happen. So
I think that's why Stephen and I have lasted a long time too, without killing each other, is because we are kind of opposites in a lot of ways. Numbers kind of guy and and creative, and so it's like,
look at us.
I know.
Yep. Well, those are the best. I mean, like you look at big like duos, right? Business duos, and like that's the thing, right? Right brain, left brain, and I think there's something to that. But also, I mean, I think I think people like, it's funny, marriage, you have to be congruent, right? You have to be consistent and believe in each other. And I think that's the same thing with a partnership. So it's already there, right? So your marriage, you were building on top of it. And so you're like, oh, let's just add a business. And so you already know how to work with each other. And so it's kind of like built in, I would imagine. I've never built a business with my wife, but I would imagine similar, kind of like, we know how to work around each other. You have this lane, I have this lane, kind of similar vibes, know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely have to communication is super important, but we give each other our own space. We have our own time. We do our own thing, and we come together on so many projects, and we just enjoy being with each other a lot. So we don't mind.
That's cool.
Going to work in the same car together, or like, and doing stuff like that. And being able to make these decisions have just been really, really quite easy. And it's just like our lives are a lot more simple now than they were when we were hustling with like full-time jobs and side businesses.
Right.
So like having all of those things kind of narrowed down to just more like one focus business-wise. And Tanya's also an artist in her own front, like as far as painting goes. But just as this business, it feels like a little bit more simplified. So it's less stressful too. Like we're really pretty low stress business. And that was a part of the plan. We wanted to make a business that was going to be lower stress.
All the plants.
And just more of a home vibe. So it's like, we're not, you're not stressed out about a bunch of customers or a deadline or a thing too much, So there's going to be moments of stress, of course, but overall it is fairly stress-free.
I love that. Carson, you just brought up something about your art. And I think that's kind of how I like through Jordan was like, oh shit, like Tanya's doing some cool fucking like paintings, but you're also not just doing paintings with paint you get at a store, you're making your own paints, right? So talk about that, touch on it a little bit, because you do branding, right? But you also have, your art, which was in galleries. And so what do you do? Tell my parents what how you make your
what are their names
shit.
again?
Rick and Carol.
Hello, Rick and Carol.
Yeah.
Shout out East Coast.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
So I went to school for graphic design and painting at UAA. And I guess to take it back just a step further, when we immigrated to America, I kind of always grew up in a really like creative household with my mom. My mom was a single mom. And what we did for fun was always just like painting, drawing, things like that, foraging. And so when we moved here and then, I kind of just got older, when it was time to go to UAA, I was like, I really want to be an artist, but I also just had that mentality of like, I need to also make money. It needs to be realistic. I was in that mind state that like a lot of artists are. And actually at UAA, my last semester where it's like, we're sending you out into the world, the professor's like, 1% of you will be teachers and the rest of you, or no, it was like 3% will be art teachers, 1% will make it as an artist, and then the rest of you are just going to find something else. And I was like, wow, that's so
Thank you.
encouraging.
Oh,
Good thing you're
appreciate
in
that,
graphic design
bud.
too.
Thanks, man.
So out of college, I went straight into the marketing world and graphic design, and then my heart just kind of always felt like it was missing my truest passion, which was painting. And I had shows and did a lot of work, tried to do as much as I could with a full-time job and then building a house and meeting you. But it was, I think kind of the biggest shift was when we hiked in the middle of winter to do this like proposal for a grant, for Adobe grant, which I had never received. Obviously, it was like the creative residency. I don't know if you guys ever applied for that, but I was like, yeah, I can be a painter and just like pitch it in like a photography realm. And like had big dreams, but nevertheless, we made a video hiking out with an easel and paints to Byron Glacier. And it was a huge stormy day. I don't know how we made it.
With a huge
With
easel.
a huge
we carried
canvas.
a huge canvas out there.
And so I painted under there. Carson did like beautiful video and took photos. And I was like painting with acrylic paints, and I could like feel the energy of just being inside the cave and it dripping, and just like nature just like really hit me. And I was like, I'm painting with like plastic paints right now. And it just like felt so disconnected and wrong. And I was like, okay, this feeling just like I need to learn if there's a way to do this more naturally. And so basically I started doing a lot of research as far as what like natural mediums look like for painters. And it really is as ancient as humans, like painting on rocks with pigment rocks.
Yeah.
And so I just really dove in straight into just learning what that is. And I started kind of foraging on like little trips while we were camping in Seward or in Homer, and just like scratching. Basically, like if you see like a vibrant rock on the beach, you could scratch it against like a flat rock and see if any pigment comes off. And if it does, you can make paint out of it. And it's as simple as that. But then I also learned natural dyeing, which is kind of just the process of dyeing fabric with plants. So a lot of plants like produce natural color. So if you ever like cooked with a beet, your fingers are stained. Right. You put turmeric somewhere and your fingers are yellow. So it's kind of the same idea, using plants and things like that to create color. So I basically now make inks and paints strictly from natural materials.
That's very cool.
As my medium. And so it, obviously encompasses a sustainable kind of outlook on my artwork. It has a lot of meaning and purpose, and I just really, truly enjoy it. And I share a lot on like my website about how to create recipes, and a lot of them involve like food waste, like avocado pits, onion skins, beet skins, like literally things that could just go in the trash you can make paint out of. And so
Interesting. And then, so I mean, like, when you're starting to like create a painting, do you have like an idea of like, all right, I'm gonna start with the beet juice, and then I'm gonna move into the avocado pit, and then I'm gonna move into the fiddlehead ferns. I don't know.
That's a really good guess for a paint. Yes, ferns are definitely like a color. Yeah.
Get out of
here. My whole painting process is very abstract and really intuitive. So I first, like on a canvas, create a lot of texture with gesso, which is kind of like a primer. And so after that, I say I have a collection and I have a theme for it. So like my latest collection was called Seaside. So color...
Which you did, sorry to interrupt, but Aquila, right?
Yeah.
That was the stuff at Aquila. Okay, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So I kind of just had a lot of inspiration for the color palette, and then I tried to create colors that would kind of match what I had envisioned for it. Obviously, a mood board was involved, but it was actually a really incredible show because we had gathered a lot of video footage and photo footage from probably like 5 years in total, and then we had this really cool projection that kind of just tied into the work itself.
What do you mean when you say video?
Oh, there was like a projection element to the show. So at the show there was like all the paintings, and then on one huge wall we did like a projection of like overhead shot of like waves and stuff, and then we had like a sub video centered of like seaside adventures, basically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
you're
just like a different element to the show.
it wasn't
cool.
just like, look, come here and look at my art. It was like
Yeah.
more a little interactive,
Yeah.
Exactly.
a little bit,
Yeah.
be a part. Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And so when you're like making these paintings, are you just like, how do you know when it's done? That's the one question, because I'm like, for when it comes up like art or design, it's like, I could fiddle with that forever. So how do you know when your painting is done?
It's for me, it's definitely a sweet spot. I know when it's not done. But I know when I've overworked it to death and I need to maybe start fresh. But I feel like it kind of just does come a little bit naturally. I feel like it kind of has an aspect of making sure that the inks and the natural pigments have like its moment, if that makes sense. Like I had to really learn to unthink my process a little bit and just really let the ingredients shine, because my typical painting process would be like 20 plus layers, and who knows if like the first couple layers are even like present at the end.
Right.
And so shifting to this like natural process, I was like, oh, I can't like keep covering this up because it took me like weeks to make this one color, and I just kind of need to let that control go and just like let things meet and be like kind of more flowy and free. And so when I feel like the colors are shining and the composition works for me, that's kind of the sweet spot. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I might get that. I get that's probably, I would imagine, with a lot of art, music, film or whatever. It's like, I think it's done. We could play with it for several more weeks, months, years, but you're like, all right, this feels good. I think we're done. Which is so cool, because I mean, also just like kind of like, seeing how art has been done with like, oil pastels or watercolor, which I love watercolor. And so it's kind of like another step beyond that, playing with like the real world and adding that into your art and kind of, portraying some different scenes or whatever. It's really cool. It's fucking sweet. I love it. And I love what you guys are doing. And I think I'm just being on the outside looking in, I'm like, oh, they fucking got it. They got the it, There's a lot of like it factor, I feel like. And I feel like just watching you guys, you have, a cool and stress-free, to kind of go off what you were saying, way to life, I guess, path. So what's next? What are you guys working on next? Like, is there something you're excited for? Is Go Fix Yourself going to have an exclusive right now?
There's lots of things. I mean, we want to stay in Alaska. We want to continue creating. We want to continue growing our business and changing it in certain ways. To be honest, the Dowling location is a really cool shop, and it's great, but it's not a complete full vision. We would love a little bit more room one day, a little bit more space to do something a little different.
So expanding.
Our lease is out in 2 years.
Yeah. And it's not the ideal. It's not ideal. So I think there's a better way that we could do it. So
can you kind of expand on that?
He's looking for land. Okay.
Yeah.
Looking for land.
Hey, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Yeah. It would be really cool to just grow the coffee shop with a little bit more seating and a little bit more refined area and a little bit more space, room for activities, basically.
I like that.
We would like to do
Workshops,
more small house concerts and stuff like, which we've done at the shop,
right.
And it's very intimate and really great. But we want to do that more frequently with better parking and all that kind of stuff. So we are continually working on new stuff. Yeah,
looking to build a spot.
You never know.
Go with the what you guys learned, making your own home.
Maybe, yeah. You never know. That's on the table. But I'm not sure yet.
Yeah,
actually,
That's fun though.
Yeah,
I think that's the beautiful thing. It was like the beginning of an idea.
Yeah,
it's like, this is what we want. How do we get there?
And we want
itself.
Other businesses involved, and we want other locals involved, and we like the community aspect. We love what K Street Market is, and we love having La Bodega and Fire Island and Johnny's Produce and us all together, and it feels so right. So we were like, I wonder if something like this could be done in a different way, in our own, in a different version, maybe in the future sometime. So we're always kind of thinking and scheming.
I love that.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing like outside of the entrepreneur world, the artistic world, the creative world? Like, do you guys have like some guilty pleasures that you guys
Movies, shows,
like stuff that you like to do that takes you away from all the stuff that you're doing 24/7 essentially?
Like
Skiing's
lots of
my
stuff.
thing. So downhill
Okay.
skiing. Yeah. I try to go a couple times a week.
Alaska? Or,
Yeah. Or backcountry. Yeah.
Oh,
Alaska
okay.
or
Okay.
backcountry. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's like a really
Well-
good escape because there's nothing you can think about when you're skiing. There's just
Right.
you're in that moment. And yeah.
is that you?
That's
doing
me,
that?
yeah.
Okay, damn. Wow. Kudos
Yeah.
to you. I could never do it. I
Wait,
hit a
doing
tree.
that?
Yeah, well, that's what.
Yeah,
That's
no,
pretty much
I had
it.
to like
You just go
look
like
to
this.
see
He knew
what
what I
was
meant.
happening.
He knew what I meant. He knew what I was doing.
I got you.
That's pretty much all it is.
Yeah.
That's as exciting as it gets.
That's how easy you make it look.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you I assume you have
TV
something
shows,
that's not
movies,
Yeah.
books. What do you like
we
to do to
love
unwind?
comedy. We love comedy. So we actually we typically do like a trip or two that either surrounds like an artist we really want to see live or like a comedian. So in the last couple of years, we've seen some great comedy, and we went to New York. And we
Love New York.
We went to like the
Going to,
Comedy
like,
Cellar,
the
the
Comedy
Comedy
Cellar,
Store
yeah.
in
Oh,
LA.
nice.
So we've
Dude.
definitely been getting into the comedy scene and just getting really like
The
it.
stand-up
Yeah,
stuff
watching
is getting
stand-up.
insane
Yeah.
with how many like people are coming out of there, like the Kill Tony stuff. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
major Kill Tony
Oh,
fans.
God, it's
So
so
going
good.
to watch stand up live it's just in like pros in LA or New York
Yeah.
or any big city is just it's just really amazing because we just don't get that very much.
There's an
here. I mean, yeah,
energy.
like it's a different
Yeah.
energy. I mean, when Dave Chappelle came up here, that was really amazing and
Yeah.
really fun show, but we just don't get a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to New York actually to see Tom Segura,
Oh.
and then
And then he announced that he was coming
then he
here
came
after.
Yeah, like,
We
great.
were there, yeah.
which actually happened when we went to see Kendrick Lamar way back in the
Oh,
day,
you saw
and then
Kenny?
he came here.
He
We were
came
like,
here after,
it was
but-
Oh, that
obviously
was
a lot
way
better.
back in the day.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
obviously a lot better, but yeah.
And we kind of found that like concerts are in a similar fashion. And you guys you might realize this as well, is that Alaska concerts are like a catch-up fest and everyone's talking and chatting and they're not true fans of the
Music,
artist as
yeah.
much because there's not a lot
Yeah.
of concerts or things to do. So everyone just goes to everything. And so then when you go to a big city and you go to a show that's like, they have shows so frequently that only the fans are going to that
Yeah.
show in that theater
Right.
because, and so that the energy in that room is a lot different than the shows up here, which of course there's fun shows up here and we all have a good time. But I can tell an energy shift when you're like when you're in a big town and it's just all fans at that show.
Yeah.
It's like hush also, but also like everybody's there to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's not like,
How's
like,
the wife and kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John.
I know.
That
Yeah,
is-
yeah.
that
We're
is a
like
really
not
interesting
even
observation.
facing the music
Right.
here. They're
I
like,
know.
Can you guys keep it
Yeah.
down up there? Yeah.
It's a lot of chatter.
Right.
Oh man, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
It's like being up on stage or like even not even being up on stage and then like you're a fan and like you're in the front row or whatever and then like everybody's being loud and you're like, I'm sorry, this isn't a representation of the whole state. Please come back. It's like,
yeah.
you definitely I definitely feel sometimes for the artist who come up here.
Yeah.
So you guys saw Kendrick Lamar, any other names that you guys saw?
When we first got together, we had only been dating for a few months.
Oh yeah.
And
This is a good one.
was it only like 3 months? And then I was like, do you want to go see Jay-Z and Kanye in Paris?
And
Tanya's
watch the Throne tour.
Get the fuck out.
So we had basically just met and we did it. We flew to Paris and we went to the Watch the Throne tour. And
Oh my
That was-
god!
And then we actually did a whole Euro trip.
yeah,
too,
we did a
but-
little Euro trip together. So that was like a really good first
Getting
little
to know
test
each
to
other,
see how we
yeah.
know each other.
Yeah, I would
Like,
say.
We went and like stayed at a hostel in Amsterdam and then like, did a Paris thing. And we were just completely broke, but we were like, we're doing it. We spent all our money on these tickets. So
We
we're
did
gonna,
How much were the tickets?
I think
It
there were,
was 250.
no, I think there were 500 each. I think.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it was
Somewhere
a huge
around there. It's
stadium
funny,
yeah.
it's
show.
3 or 400. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
It's funny how
Anyway.
like we had Susan Snyder from Willowa on here recently, and we talked about ticket pricing because like people will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in New York. Oh, like I'm gonna go see a big band. Yeah, I'll pay $300, no problem. Oh, they're in Anchorage, $150.
Oh,
no
yeah.
way.
Oh
like,
my God.
It's like that kind of mentality of like they're not true fans. Like, Limp Bizkit's coming up here, and I was like, if I would be like,
We'll
I
pay.
will pay $300 to see Limp Bizkit for sure. But it's not even that much money. But so many people are like, no, I don't want to go. I want to go, but I don't want to spend that much money. And it's definitely a different vibe up here for sure when it comes to art or putting new stuff out there or bringing new stuff up. So it's a little different. And so I think that's kind of cool when you do bring something up, like your shop or whatever, and that people accept it. And people are like really enjoying it and they want more. And so that's really kind of a fun thing to see. See what I did there? Bring it back full circle.
Good job. Really good job.
That's
really
nice. That's the journal degree that I never got. Anyways, well, guys, thank you for coming on. This has been a real pleasure. I know we don't see you that much, in real life.
We don't see each other much. This is our first time meeting, so
that's true. It's interesting, because you live real close to.
I do.
I'm gonna call you out.
We'll recognize you now.
Yeah, be like,
are you guys in the store often?
Yeah, we're
down
in the back.
the
a
down
lot.
one.
I go when you're not
You
there.
could say if the owners are here, and then we'll be like, "Who's here?"
We could be hiding.
See if we want to
Okay.
talk to you.
Yeah. Be like, there's an intercom. Like, tell them we're not here.
That's
Tell
pretty
them-
standard. We're not here.
Tell them
Don't
I
give me
want to
the
buy
phone.
47 of the
Like,
rarest plants they
He's
have.
not here.
Yeah.
They're not here.
That's what I'll say.
Who's
What's
asking?
do you guys have a code plant that I could say that would bring you guys?
Pilea bronze.
Yeah. Palea bronze is the
Bring
code.
out
Damn it, guys! You let everybody else
Everybody's gonna know. Just kidding.
It was this plant that we could not sell for like the whole summer. We tried to like elevate it with a cool pot and blah blah blah, and just like wouldn't leave the store. We were like, "Fucking hit this plant," you know. And so
Well,
it was called Pilea bronze,
And we
so-
started using it as like a code that like we need help, like come out front and help us.
Yeah,
So
instead of being like,
one of the
"Hey,
employees
Mom!"
would be like
Yeah.
ringing someone up and be like, Pilea bronze, and then we would run
come
up
running out.
and go help them.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
I'm gonna try that.
That's
next
very
time
on
I'm there.
brand for you
could
guys.
that would be a good way to do it.
Mac, I need a Paleo's Brahms.
Paleo.
Yeah, I need a
Exactly like
paleo.
Yeah, that'll work.
I need a paleo bra. There's something. Yeah, I can see that going well. Where can everybody find everything? Websites, plug those. I mean,
Thatfeeling.co, thatfeelingco on Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much where we're at.
that's where they should
What
all follow
about
you.
personal? You guys have personal? Do you guys want to push those too?
Tanya.val is me. And then our house page is My Alaskan Home. And then Carson is MIA.
My photography page is called Below Thy.
Okay.
All
Sweet.
right.
Well, guys, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
was awesome.
This is
So
really
fun.
fun.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
And we're excited what you guys are doing, and we can't wait to see what you do next. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Kyle and Steven will be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, check out gofixyourselfpodcast.com. And remember to always go fix yourself.